And look out for those bright orange bits on the wings, hey, Peter McNamara? Is that what we're looking for?
Yes, indeed. Now, unlike many participants who arrive at high speed, this is Tony De Bruyn in the OV-10 Bronco, arriving at low speed, flying at just around 100 miles an hour. Because this aircraft was designed in the 1960s by North American Rockwell, and its objective mainly was as a forward air controller, light observation and light ground attack aircraft, in which roles it was used extensively in the Vietnam War of the 1960s. So Tony is trailing smoke there so that we can track him, and he's going to go into a spiral climb now. So imagine he's flying over the jungles of Vietnam at low speed, looking for potential targets of opportunity. And once he spots those, he'll be in liaison with the ground troops. Now, those of you looking with binoculars may say, Vietnam War aircraft with black German crosses on it. Well, why is that? Well, this is actually a former German Air Force aircraft. German Air Force took some of these on board to use as target tugs. So they would be towing targets for the German Air Force fighters to shoot at. Not a job I would particularly fancy myself, but there we go. So you can see the bright day-glow wingtips that Ian was mentioning earlier. That's to help ensure that the fighters who are there to intercept the targets shoot at the target rather than the towing aircraft, the Bronco. But Tony De Bruyn showing there just how manoeuvrable this aircraft is. He's coming in now at a faster speed. That's over 200 miles an hour, probably close to 250 miles an hour. And that's not a bomb underneath the fuselage, it is the extra fuel tank. And there we are, look, highly manoeuvrable, a great roll as he goes up on the 45-degree line. And with a very short fuselage and that twin boom tail that we'll also see on the Vampire jets later on as the penultimate display item from the Royal Norwegian Historical Squadron.
And the twin boom is sort of connected. I'm trying to think how to describe this if you're listening at home. It's got like two bits sticking out of the back of the plane which are connected by a bar across. So it looks like it forms a square.
Yes, that's right. Now Tony in from the left with his undercarriage down in the landing configuration. This is when he's flying nice and slowly, so do give him a wave. He'll be looking out of the cockpit. If he sees enough people waving, he may even wave back.
The wheels look good down, don't they?
Yes, indeed, yes.
It's almost like he's in slow motion. He's flying past us now on the commentary point. Give him a wave, lots of waving, smiling faces from the beach as he flies from left to right, heading up towards the Jaywick end of the seafront.
So there in the landing configuration, also known as the dirty configuration, that's undercarriage and flaps down, ready for landing. Now he's cleaned up the aircraft, undercarriage and flaps retracted. Now he's going to execute a very slow speed 360-degree turn, again simulating looking for ground targets that he can report back to the troops in close proximity on the ground. Tony it was who established the OV-10 Bronco demonstration team, wanting to keep this classic aircraft thing run, because the aircraft could carry light machine guns, or he could just be marking it with smoke for the troops on the ground to move in more closely.
Dare I say a little more raspy sounding than some of the engines we've heard today?
It is actually. It's got twin turboprop engines, so they are jet engines, but instead of relying on the jet exhaust to power the aircraft forward, the jets power propellers. So it's like the RAF Tucano trainer that we were hearing. Slides down on the 45-degree line. And it just shows the amazing rate of climb of this aircraft. More than 4,000 feet a second as he yaws the nose, first one way, then the other, then dives back down in parallel with his slope trail. Cutting the corner there in almost the same way that we'll see the Typhoon displaying this afternoon. Both aircraft with superb power to weight ratios that allow them to really cut the corners beyond what you'd expect from normal aerodynamics. Now showing us a great plan view of the aircraft as he flies by in knife edge.
Knife edge basically means he was flying diagonally upwards, if you're listening at home. I mean, it's incredible to see a plane flying diagonally with his, showing us his bottom side.
With the Typhoon, there are computers to handle all of that. This is just Gerald doing it all himself.
And feeling like he's in a washing machine, I should think.
I think so, indeed. The manoeuvres, you can understand why Gerald didn't do it yesterday with all the haze, making it very difficult to determine which way up is the right way. In a display like this, Gerald has to take into account the wind direction to ensure that this very light aircraft isn't blown over the display area by the strong winds. So he has to make adjustments all the time, as do all the pilots displaying this for us here this afternoon.
It certainly feels a bit breezier than yesterday, and I suppose that's why the locomotive was hanging around yesterday. There was no wind.
Yeah. Now, coming in from the left for his last pass, please give Gerald Cooper a great wave and a cheer after that fantastic display. Ranked in the top 10 of world aerobatic pilots since 2007. The British National Aerobatic Champion since 2009. We only bring you the best here to Clacton. Gerald Cooper in the Extreme Air XA41.
It's ready.
No, it's okay, you can put away your garlic and your steaks to drive through the hearts. It's not those kind of vampires. This is the Vampire jet, used extensively by the Royal Air Force. It entered RAF service on the 8th of June 1946. So this is the 7th. And leading the formation is Kenneth Arkvisler, whom we saw flying the MiG-15 earlier on today. That would have been flown by the Norwegian Air Force's potential opponents, the Russian Air Force and those of the Warsaw Pact, while the Norwegian Air Force would be flying Vampires. And we have two examples of the type here. The two-seat trainer, T-55, and the single-seat FB-52, FB standing for fighter bomber. Flying very close formation. Now, one of the things to contrast, just to show how jet aircraft technology has changed since the introduction of the Vampire, is just see how much sky the Vampires take up. Not when they're looping, because if they've got the clearance to over 5,000 feet, they're going to use it. But when they're doing turns over the sea, they really do eat up a lot of space. And contrast that with the Typhoon, which we'll be seeing next, which stays right in front of us all the time. Now you can see on that pass there the slightly smaller size of the number 2 aircraft, which is the single-seat fighter bomber, in contrast with the larger two-seat trainer, which Kenneth is flying to lead the formation. At the time, the idea of a student and instructor was to sit them side by side. That continued with the basic trainer of the RAF that followed on, which was the Jet Provost, but changed with the Jet Provost replacement, the Tucano and also the Hawk trainer, where the instructor sits behind the student in what's known as a tandem seating arrangement. Now you can see just how much space is being taken up by that very big turn that the formation pair are demonstrating.
You're gonna catch a cold from the ice inside your soul, so don't come back for me.
Now that same same twin boom design that we saw on the OV-10 Bronco, and the distinctive whistling sound there of the Rolls-Royce Goblin engines, which combined gave the Vampire the nickname in the Air Force of the whistling wheelbarrow. Whistling because of the noise, and wheelbarrow because of that twin boom tail design. Kennett himself is a hugely experienced pilot with more than 15,000 flying hours. He was in the Norwegian Air Force himself, then became a civilian aviation airline pilot before retiring from that, and now all he gets to fly is classic Cold War jets. I can think of worse ways to spend your summer days. Now in from the right in a line astern formation. Number 2 slotted in behind Kennett and below him. The Vampire was the second jet fighter to enter service with the RAF following the Gloucester Meteor. Although it arrived too late to see combat in the Second World War, it served with frontline RAF squadrons until 1953, when it was replaced by the Hawker Hunter, and it then continued, but it still continued in RAF service as a trainer until 1966. There are quite a number of them in civilian ownership now, because one of the last surviving air forces to use them, the Swiss Air Force, sold off their contingent during the 1980s. And it was acquired by many private pilots because it was a small, light aircraft, relatively easy to maintain, operate and fly. For a jet, that is. So they're over Clacton Pier now, coming in towards us. Still in very close formation. It's a brilliant display of close formation flying. The Top Gun theme, because of course the Eurofighter Typhoon is the 80s service with the RAF. fighter. And Flight Lieutenant Mark Long, the Typhoon display pilot, whose family is here today, is actually an instructor of Typhoon pilots. Now, having pulled some 9G turns, he's now pushing minus 3G in this outside turn. The force of gravity trying to throw him out of the cockpit in a very uncomfortable manoeuvre. Most of the display conducted with full reheat on. Which causes those two engines out the back. Executing a minimum radius turn now, showing just how tightly the Typhoon can turn. Contrast that with what we saw from the Vampires, the aircraft from the 1946 compared to the 21st century.
Peter, I know it's difficult to talk under these circumstances, but that we see at the back of the Typhoon, when it goes into the distance, we see this orange glow. It almost looks like the rear of the aircraft is on fire. What is that?
That's the reheat. So the fuel is injected into the exhaust gases from falling out of the sky. And at the end of this run, just watch and listen as he opens up the throttles, full reheat, and climbs away at the same angle, accelerating as he does it. His undercarriage is down at the moment, he'll be cleaning the aircraft up as he exits the flight. Shouldn't be able to maneuver like this. The way he came down, almost flying a future.
We're going to climb our necks to see Mark at times in the Typhoon. You don't just see it and hear it and smell the air vegetable. Oh, superb. And we must say hi to Sue. Mark Long grew up in Essex, a Saffron Walton boy.